Okay, this is section C, estimating percentages. So Canada, we used to have a 7% GST, but now we have 5%. So when we calculate GST, we times by 1.05. This adds GST to the total. Okay. If I want to find GST by itself, GST alone, we just times by 0.05. So the numbers are a little bit different. One starts with a 0, one starts with a 1. And the difference is the one that starts with a 0 gives you your GST amount by itself. So that's the amount you pay in tax. When you have a 1 in front of it, it adds that tax number to the total to give you your grand total. So it does it for you like the cash registers and stores do. So this is if you just want to calculate GST alone to figure it out for yourself. So these guys have estimated their GST and they use 0.07 because that's when this program was written, and that's totally fine. So what they did was they times by 0.07. Nowadays we would times by 0.05. So when they did, they got a GST amount by that. So notice that they have to add their GST total now to their other number. Okay, they have to add it together. But when I said the guy with the 1 in front, that's when we don't have to add it. It'll add it for us. All right. It says you can estimate the price of an item, including GST, by adding 10% to the cost. So literally, you just think about 0.10. What would 0.10 of the cost be? So a quick way, we're going to talk about a quick way to find 10% of any number. Okay, here's our quick way. The quick way is move the decimal 1 to the left. And that tells you what 10% of that number would be. Okay, write this stuff down. Don't just stare at it. It's not going to magically appear on your page. Okay, everything else is written for you. That's why I'm giving you these notes. They're written for you. All the stuff that I write on my own, you have to write it in. Okay, it's not a lot. It's just a little bit. So write it in. So the quick way is to move your decimal to the left once. So if I wanted to estimate 10%, take a look at this. I've got 15.45. That's my number. This is this guy right here. So 15.45. Gage, you need to write this down, please. I'm going to move my decimal 1 to the left. And that is my 10%. So 1.545, that guy rounds them up to 1.55. Why don't I have 3 decimal places? There's a big reason why I don't have 3 decimal places with these kinds of numbers. Look at the symbol I'm using. What symbol is being used in front of all those numbers? $sign. So when we're talking money, we need to see 2 digits after the decimal. So when I moved this guy, he had 45. When I moved it, he had 3 digits after the decimal. That's why we did all our practice on our rounding, because now this 5 tells the 4, hey buddy, you got to add 1. So that's how that 4 becomes a 5. So now we get an estimate of 1.55 cents in GST. So they're estimating $1.55 for GST. Okay. Now, since our GST is 5%, the easiest way to figure out 5% is to find the 10. And then how do you get from 5 to 10? What would you do? Okay, instead of adding or subtracting, think multiply or divide. How do I get from a 10 to a 5? What could I do? If you had $10 and you divide 2. So if I want to find 5% of something, I cut 10% in half. So 5% is half of 10%. So if I wanted to find my GST, what it would be now, and these ones found it for 7%, right? That's what they did in this when it was written. So they figured out 7%. We're on 5% now. So we're going to do the new number. So if 10%, we find the 10% by moving the decimal back, that number we now divide by 2. So now if I divide this number by 2, that's my actual 5% GST number. So let's take $1.55 and divide it by 2. So if you had $1.55 and you had to share it with someone, how much would you both get? Do it on your calculator. $1.55 divide 2. What would each person get? Divide by 2. Well, $1.55. Divide it by 2. 0.775. Okay. So that means that's what that's what 5% would be. It's half of 10. If 10 is $1.55, that's 10%. We'd cut it in half because 10% cut in half is 5. And we want 5%. That's the whole reason we're doing it. So the GST on this for 5% would have been actually 0.78 cents. This is the actual number. That's what it would actually be. Okay, if I took 5%. So now our estimate will always be a little bit more, like our estimate will always be higher, which is good. Because if you're in a store and you're estimating money, if you only got $20 to spend, you want to estimate to see if you've got enough to buy what you want to buy. So it's good to know what 10% is and then cut it in half. Always think money so that you can cut it in half. So if we were to take $15.45 and now add our 78 cents, how much does that object actually cost? What would it actually cost? 15.45 plus 0.78 cents. $16.23. And notice it's a little bit less than 17. So 17 was what we rounded up to estimate, and our actual total is a little bit smaller, which is good. We always want to be under the estimate. You always, what they say is you estimate high, so that when you estimate a higher number, you come in when your number is lower, you're happy because then you pay less, which is a good thing. All right, now it says estimate the GST on a fishing rod that costs $54.79. So if we're using 10%, we're going to move the decimal back 1. That's what it's showing us. That's what this says. Move it to the left 1. And then it says round it like we did, because we have to round it because we're talking money. If it's money, we want 2 digits after the decimal because that's our dollars and pennies. So now this is going to be $5.479. That 9 is rounding that guy up to 0.48. They approximated, they took 5.48 and they rounded it to $5.50. Now that's 10%. In real life here, we pay 5%. So how would I find 5% of that number? What do we do in the last question? What number did we divide by? 2. So all we've got to do is cut this number in half now. So if I take $5.48, I'm going to divide it by 2. And that's going to give me my real tax. And my real tax, let's see, 5.48 divide 2. My real tax is going to be $2.74. $2.74. So in real life, see, we've estimated high here. So it costs almost $55. They estimate, they round that your GST is going to be a little bit more than $5 because that's 10%, right? But 10%, we don't pay that. We pay a bit less. So if we round it to $60, So we have round to 60. We should be under our total always. So if we have our real tax number and we add it, so our real total, and we're going to see how close we come to our estimate. Our real total would be $54.79 plus $2.74. Now we're going to find out the real cost, and we'll see how close to $60 it comes. $2.74, we get $57.53. So again, the number is smaller than 60. We always estimate more than we are, okay? All right, letter C. It says we're going to estimate for a pair of running shoes. So the running shoes are $36.49. So we're using the rule where we move the number back, we move our decimal back. So that's going to give us 3.64. Okay, what does that 9 make the 4 do? What's the 9 going to make the 4 do? What do you think the 9 makes the 4 do? Is it going to stay the same or add 1? What do you think? It's going to add 1. So that's actually going to be 65. So 365 is what it should be. So now it says the approximate is 365. So now that's 10%. We want to divide that by 2. We want to cut it in half. Okay, so we've cut that guy in half. So 365 divide 2, we're going to have $1.83. $1.83 is our GST. So now I want my real total. So my real total, my actual total in real life, it's going to be the cost of the item, $36.49, plus our GST tax, $1.83. And that's going to give us our grand total. It will be close. I just got to move all this stuff. It's in the way. Come on, erase, please. Erase. Erase, erase. All right. So we're going to add those together. Plus 36.49. We're going to get a total of $38.32. So again, it's really close to our estimate. Our estimate was $40. Gage, you need to pay attention, please, okay? And you need to try and write some of this down. I'm still writing.
I already get what you said, so I wrote it down.
So this one says if you need to know the actual amount, you can take the cost of the item and multiply by, this is 1.07. We take the 7 off, it's 1.05. Oops, not 10.5, 1.05. Okay, again, GST is not 7%, it's 5% now. So 1.05. And that's where it adds your tax to your total for you. So 1.05. So let's find the number that it actually is. So that's a little too much. So let's find the actual answer when we times it by 1.05 and not 1.07. So we're going to get 15.45 times 1.05. We're going to get $16.22. So $16.22. That other total had $16.53. If I subtract them, this is the 7% GST. This is 5% GST. I'm saving 31 cents. So they've reduced the amount we pay in GST, which is a good thing. They've reduced it. Okay. All right, it says, remember, you can also use the percent key on your calculator to calculate a percent. It says type the number 7 and then percent. Actually, you type 5 and then percent, not 7. to find out your GST, or times it by the number and add your 5%, not your 7, to find out your total. So 2 ways. Okay, first way. This way here is timesing by 7%. This finds your GST only. That's what this part finds. And again, it's going to be a 5. So we have to do all the multiplying differently. So everybody figure your multiplying out. So 129 times. Now use your percent sign and see what it does. So you could hit 5%. Do we have percent signs on these calculators? Yes, we do. It's above your bracket. So times 5, second bracket. There we go. So it'll actually give us $6.45. That's quite a bit cheaper than $9.03. So we're actually saving money. Okay, now we're going to get it to add it to it by itself. So that's not the total. That's the other one. So this is our GST only. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go add 5%. So we're going to go 129 plus second comma plus 5 second comma percent. And we're going to get 129. Hang on. That didn't do it right. We're timesing it by 1.05. Not adding 5%. We're timesing by 1.05. 129 times 1.05 is 135, not 129. So our grand total would be 135 and 45 cents. Okay, so 2 ways to do it. You can use your percent button on your calculator. If you've got one of these, it's right above the bracket, but it's blue. So you'd have to hit the blue number and then the bracket on the left. The blue, second, and then the comma. You don't have it, you'll have a different button on yours. Yours is better, so I'll show you yours. Okay, now it says the decimal number 0.02 is the same as saying 2 pennies out of 100. Anything out of 100 is the same as saying it is a percentage. Okay, it is the same thing as saying a percent. The decimal number 0.89 is 89 pennies out of 100. Now this one is saying we have 115 pennies. That's what that one's telling us. So if we've got a number in front, that's how many pennies we have. So now it says, congratulations, this certificate earns you 15% off the regular price of a CD. Hurry in and join. Your selections will be limited. So let's turn our page. Come on, start. Come on. All right, so we figured out the total cost for the tip. We would take our percent, divide it by 100. That equals our decimal amount. So to recap, we would take our cost times our decimal. That would give us our tip amount in this case. Total cost is going to be our cost of our bill plus the tip. So total cost is cost of the bill plus the tip. All right, let's take a look at C. So C tells us sometimes discounts are figured out 20% off of a price. So this is where we need to figure out, and there's different ways of doing it. These are called our percent statements. So we're going to write down here, these are our percent statements. And there's 3 of them. Okay, there's 3 of them, and we need to know how they work because we set them into a cross, multiply, and divide. So percent statements, 2 fractions, and then you cross, multiply, and divide. Cross, multiply, then divide. Okay, here is the first type. The first type is the kind they're talking about in this question. So this question says you want to find out 20% of a number. So finding a percent of a number is, so our example, 20% of 14 is blank. So this is this example right here. We need to set it up as two fractions and then we cross multiply and divide. So this goes over here. Oh my. Yeah, 20% of 14 is. So we're going to make two fractions. This guy is always the bottom. This guy is the top. So I would say 20 out of 100 equals, I'm finding X, I don't know how big it is, out of 14. So it's a cross multiply then divide. Cross multiply then divide. So times that, then divide by 100.
Huh? Okay, so times and then
Divide by 100 here. Yep. So we're going to go 20 times 14, divide 100.
8.
Is it?
Yeah.
You're quick.
Yeah, I'm like,
It's 2.8.
I got 8 just on the dot.
It should be 2.8. Try again. So go 20 times 14, divide 100.
Oh, that's close.
Okay, so we get X equals 2.8. Well, we're talking money. Well, that means it needs a dollar sign, and then I put a 0 on the end because I need 2 digits after the decimal. So that means $2.80. So once we find the cross multiply and we figure out what the answer is, then we figure out what they're asking us. This is money. So the missing number is $2.80. So that's one type of percent statement. Then we get into the next kind of percent statement. Here's number 2. So the next one is blank percent of 20 is 5. So again, we have to find out what these numbers are. The number after the word of is the bottom number. The number after the word is the top number. Okay? So I make my fraction. X now is over the 100 because I don't know the percent. Your first fraction is always your percent fraction. So take a look here. This 20 over 100, that's my 20%. So this percent statement is this one over 100. That's always that fraction. Your second fraction is the one where it comes from the top and the bottom there. So you would have 5 over 20. Now we look where the numbers are diagonal from each other. They're diagonal from each other right here. So we're going to times them, then divide. Okay? When we do that, we're going to get X. And we're not dealing with money in this question. We're going to get an answer of 25. Okay, so we get the answer is 25. So I put my answer here. That is 25% of 20 is 5. Now we have one more kind. One more kind, our third kind. And this time, do you notice where the number missing is? Take a look at where the number is. I've always got 3 blanks. Okay, our generic statement, where am I going to put it? Our generic statement is this. Oh gosh. Blank percent of blank is blank. So that's our generic statement right here. This is what we're always filling in the blanks for. They're going to give us 2 of those numbers. We got to fill the third one in. Okay? So one of those blanks is always going to be empty. When we looked at our first example, The blank was right here. That's the one that was empty. When I looked at the second example, it was the first one that was empty. Now, who do you think is going to be empty the next time? The last one. So now our last example is 35% of what is 50. So we've had a blank at the end, a blank at the front. Now we got a blank in the middle. Okay. So this is how we set our cross multiply up. The fraction, the first one's always your percentage. So our first fraction is our percentage. So we get to put 35 over 100 equals. And now which number goes on top, the blank or the 50? Look at the question above it. It'll tell you. It's the 50. So 50's on top. Our blank is on the bottom. There's our X. So we got to find out which numbers are diagonal from each other. They're diagonal this way. I multiply them and I divide by the number left over. Let's do it. Divide. Whoops. There we go. 142.86. So we get, equals, what's going on here? Equals 142.85, yada, yada, yada. It goes on forever. Now, if I want to round to the nearest one decimal place, I look at the second number. What's that 5 going to make the 8 do? What does any number 5 or bigger make the number do? It goes up by 1. So we're going to add 1 to the 9. Or sorry, add 1 to the 8, so it becomes a 9. So we're going to get the answer as 142.9. So 142.9. Those are our 3 big percent statements where you've got to fill in the blank, and the blank is going to be in one of those 3 spots. They give you 2 numbers out of 3. All right, now we're going to look at example D. So turn your page. Example D.
I'm confused with this last one.
Okay.
35% of 142.9 is 50?
Yep.
That's what it says.
Yep, it's saying 35% of that big number is 50. So if I did 50 divided by 142.9, I'm going to get 0.35. If I times that by 100, I get 35%.
Gotcha. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. No, it's all good. I have to just stop the cast for a sec because it's really blurry. And I don't know why. It's just got to think about itself for a sec.
I know this.
Whoopsie. That didn't work. Let's try again. Okay. Well, it didn't work either. Come on. Cast it. Cast. 102. There we go. And I'm still on the video. Perfect. This is going to be a long video. Okay. Joanne sold her scooter for 20% less than she paid for it. It says she paid $625. How much? Yeah. How much did she, it says, how much did Joanne get when she sold her scooter?
$500.
So it says we want 20% of this number is what? So we're filling in that last blank. So the way we could do it is 20 over 100 equals X on top of 625. And then we cross multiply and divide. Okay, we cross multiply and divide. We're going to get 125. So we get X equals 125. Now, that's money. So I got to put a dollar sign, $125. Now, if I take that original number, 625, and I put it on the bottom, and I take my 125 and put it on top, and if I divide them, I should get 0.20. This is going to match what I started with right here with my 20%. That's what we're trying to do. So you're trying to find the number that's missing that'll give you that answer. All right, let's take a look at letter E. Paul paid an extra 4%. And look at how big that price was. Holy smokeroonios. Okay, it's a paint job on his new car. Cost him over $20,000. Yikes. Okay, it's a special paint job. So we want 4% of a number. So 4% of 20650. So let's set it up. Is what? So we have 4 over 100 equals X over 20650. The number in the middle is always the bottom number. The number in the middle is always the bottom number of your second fraction, because your first fraction is always your percentage. Okay, so your first fraction is always the percent. Then we just got to cross multiply. So now we find the numbers that are diagonal. These guys are diagonal. We multiply them and divide by the number left over. And when we do that, we're going to get 826. So $826. So how much did he pay in total? Well, he paid the car plus he paid for the paint job. So he ended up paying $21,476. OMG, that's a big number. All right, let's take a look. We're still going here. Okay, letter F. It says, Ashlyn noticed that the jacket she's been longing for is finally on sale. The regular price is $35 and now it's half off. If she's got 18 in her wallet, does she have enough in her pockets? Does she have enough money? Well, we're going to say find half of $35 is what? Well, it gave us our first fraction, half. So there's our first fraction, half. What's that? This is our X. X goes on top, 35's on the bottom. We are going to cross multiply and divide by the number left over. So we end up saying 35 divide 2, and that's going to give us $17.50. So she's got $18 in her pocket. Yes, she has enough.
Yeah, but what about tax?
Let's find tax. She has enough before tax. That's right. We got to see here what tax is. So now we got to take our total, $17.50, and times by 1.05. That's our GST. That's going to give us total cost. Okay, we got to figure out that total cost number. And again, we're multiplying by 1.05 to get our GST added to that number. So we go 17.50 times 1.05.
18.
Ooh, $18 and how many cents?
375.
You're right, $3.75, but it'd be round to 38 cents. Okay? It was 375 hundredth or thousandths. So $18.38. No,
She is
not
8 cents off.
with tax. So if they don't add tax, she has enough. If they add tax, she doesn't have enough.
Let's go to the store.
Darn it.
Real nice.
All right, last
Just
example.
get it.
Yeah, stores rarely give you something for free, hey?
Actually, no, it did.
No?
Every time I go there and I'm like a couple cents off, they're just like, you
Oh, that's so nice.
yeah.
You're very lucky.
Same with me.
I don't get that luck. You're very lucky.
Yeah.
Okay, last example, letter G. It says, remember when dealing with money, always round to 2 decimal places, because that's our hundredth. That's our dollars and cents. So we always want 2 digits after the decimal. So now it says find 3/4 of that. Well, that's saying 3/4 of this is what? Okay, it's missing the word is. It's saying 3/4 of that number is what? Well, we got to solve for x. So we would say 3/4 times, almost, x over 14.95. This is our last example. We cross multiply, then divide. And that's going to give us a total of $11.21. So 3/4 of that price is $11.21. Now it says find 1/4 of it. If you find 1/4 of the number, so where are we at? 1/4 of 18.99. So we would have 1/4 equals x over 18.99. Cross multiply, then divide. We're going to find x is exactly $4.75. So that's 1/4. What is 1/4 as a percent? How could you find 1/4 as a percent? Equals blank percent. How could you find that? What was the rule we did to change to percentages? Well, we need to change to a decimal first. So how do we change fractions to decimals? Top divide bottom. Excellent. So we would take top, divide, bottom, and then that gives us our decimal. So equals decimal. Last step to times by what to get a percent? What does the percent symbol represent?
100.
100. Good job. So now we take our decimal and we times it by 100. That's going to give us our percent. So we would find it's 25%. So whenever you got numbers in fours, think of quarters and a dollar. You have 4/4 of a dollar. 3 of them would be 75 cents. 2 of them would be 50 cents. Okay? And those are things we have to remember a lot of. Okay? This ends estimating percentages.